Shalom. Be in the 23rd chapter of the book of Genesis. Sarah's lifetime, the span of Sarah's life. I read that this morning. I was reviewing the text in preparation to speak today. And it occurred to me, something had occurred to me about this passage, something that Dr. Von Ochner used to tell us, Dogma. When Scripture says something, we should pay attention. When Scripture says something twice, we should pay double attention. There's something here about the length of Sarah's life that we're supposed to have our attention called to, even more than if it just said that she passed away. So Sarah's lifetime, the span of Sarah's life, came to 127 years. This would make Yitzhak 28. She 99, she was 99 when she became pregnant, so she would have been 100. So this would make Yitzhak 27 years old. This would make Ishmael 40 years old. This would make Abraham 128. We're seeing something here about, at the very least, is giving us a fairly exact time in their lives when he died. Sarah died in Kiryat Arba, now Hebron. Okay? A lot of times in the Scripture we read and it says, this happened in such and such place, and we open up a map and there's no place on the map that bears that name because, in this case, it was a Canaanite name or some other culture's name that they used in the land of Canaan that later took on another name, and it becomes difficult sometimes to find where these places are when we're looking at a map. And here, Moshe feels that this is so important, or maybe the elders felt that it was so important that he put it in here. And he says she died at Kiryat Arba. Now today we call that Hebron. But why is that important? I think part of it is because we had come out of Israel after 400 plus years in captivity, and the majority of Israel, the people, had lost our heritage. While in captivity, we had turned to foreign gods, foreign Elohim. We had forgotten who we were and who we are. And I believe it's important. I believe he felt it was important, perhaps the elders felt it was important, that he tied what he was telling them to the land into which they were coming. And so as he's presenting this the first time to the people, he's saying she died at Kiryat Arba. Kiryat Arba. Now, when you go into the land, they're going to call that place Hebron. So when you find this place in Hebron, you know that this is where this happened, even though we called it something different 400 years ago when we left the land. It says, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham proceeded to mourn for Sarah and to bewail her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead and spoke to the Hittites, saying, I am a resident alien among you. Now this is very important. It's very important. I've been explaining to some people just recently the importance of the significance of resident alien to the Jewish faith, to the Israelite people. Okay? Because you can be a Zur or a Ben Zur or a Bat Zur. And you can make your progress, your journey into being Ezra, into being treated as though you are a native born. Okay? If you're Zur, that means your ancestors were never Jewish. If you're Ben Zur, you're a man whose ancestors were Jewish and turned away from the faith. If you're Bat Zur, you're a woman whose ancestors were Jewish and turned away from the faith. One of the stages of making the journey back from, or making it from Zur to Ezra, or from Ben or Bat Zur to Ezra, is to go through a phase that the Torah calls Ger Toshav. Ger means stranger. That's why Moshe, when he named his son, he said, I call him Gershom, because I have been a stranger in a strange land. Okay? Ger is the last stage before you become considered Ezra and treated as though you're native born. It's when you have done everything else and are continuing to do everything else that it is to be an observant Jew, except you have not been circumcised and kept Passover, Pesach. When you've done all of the others, you are the stranger who dwells among Israel. Okay? And when you are circumcised, if you weren't already, I know in today's society most men are circumcised when they're babies anyway, but if you haven't been and you get circumcised and then you keep Pesach, then you and any children born to you after that come to be treated as Ezra. But this is Abraham saying to the people of the land of Canaan, I am a resident alien among you. Now remember last week we talked about so many things in Genesis are flip-flopped to later, it's like a mirror image. It's like he raises his left hand and the right hand and the mirror raises, right? Okay? So many things in Torah in general, but specifically in this part of Genesis, are like that to other things in Scripture. And last week we talked about going up on the mountain and carrying the wood and being the sacrifice, and he provided the ram, and you flip it all the way around, and it becomes Messiah, Mashiach, going up on the mountain, carrying the wood to be the sacrifice because his father told him to. Here we have that same father, Abraham, says to the people of the land, I am a resident alien among you. Allow me to buy this piece of land and own this piece of the land, and let me dwell here among you like a citizen. And that is a mirror image of what was going to happen and continues to happen today when the alien, the foreigner, the Toshav, then becomes Ger Toshav, then becomes Ger, and says, let me dwell among you. Oh, by the way, I want to be one of you. But did you catch something? He didn't say, I want to be one of you. What he did is he respected the culture, and in so doing set a standard of several things. He said to the Hittites, I am a resident alien among you. Sell me a burial site among you that I may remove my dead for burial. This is the man who had already been promised the land by the creator of the universe. The creator of all things had said, Abram, your name is no longer Abram. Your name is Abraham. You'll be the father of many nations. From you, kings shall issue. Every people, every family, every nation of the world will be blessed because of you, because you have kept my commandment, my mitzvah, because you have connected with me. All the world will be blessed, and I'm giving you this land in which you dwell. He had already been told by the creator of the universe that he owned this piece of land. That it was for him and for his sons and his sons' sons and his sons' sons' sons throughout time. And yet he goes to the inhabitants of the land and he says, I'm a resident alien among you. Let me purchase this piece of land. Why would he do that? Let me tell you why. Because Torah and the rest of the Tanakh and the Brit Hadash all tell us that when we dwell in the world, because we are in the world but not to be of the world, that we are held to a higher standard. When we live among the world, we must preserve a testimony among the world. One of the requirements to be a teacher of Scripture that Shaul put forth to the early Messianics was that let this man, if he's going to be called and ordained for this purpose, let him have a testimony that is good both within and without, both in the body of believers and in the body of scoffers. Let them have nothing that they can say against him. You know, Abraham had been given a piece of land by the Creator. And I guarantee you, if he had walked up there with this small army and said, I'm taking this piece of land, it's been promised to me by the Creator of the universe, and if you try to stop me, Hittites, I have a small army and we're going to turn you back. He could have done that. You know what? Because it had been promised to him, Elohim would have, I'm sure, said, yes, I'm going to honor that because I promised it to you. But you know, there would have been some ramifications. There would have been some serious ramifications in that from then on, the Hittites and everybody else in the land of Canaan would have hated the people of Abraham. And you say, how's that different than today? Well, what's going on today had to do with Abraham and Sarah and him listening to her instead of trusting Elohim. We're still paying the price for that. But he went to them and he said, sell me this piece of land for a burial site. It says, and the Hittites replied to Abraham, saying to him, hear us, my Lord. You are the elect of Elohim among us. Now, he had been there long enough and had lived righteously enough that they looked at him and they said, the Creator of the universe is with you. Out of all the people who live among us, you're the one who speaks to him and he answers. I'm reminded of a church we used to attend, a somewhat mainline church that was Sabbath keeping, kosher eating, and they kind of stopped there and did everything else kind of Pentecostal. But they gave me a name there, a nickname there. And it wasn't just about me, it was about my family, it was about those who came into that church with me at that time, and who sadly had to leave with me later because of some of the things that happened there. But they called me the head Jew in charge. Remember that, Jordan? The associate pastor started calling me that. And then one of the other elder ministers started calling me that. And then it kind of caught on, and it came down to when these Jewish folks came in and they started praying for our church, everything just lit on fire. That was the testimony. I'm thankful I had that in that moment, in the time, in that season. I don't know that I've always had it. I would claim that. But Abraham in this season had that among the Hittites and the Canaanites. They said, when this man speaks to the creator of the universe, good things happen. And so they said, you are the elect, the chosen, literally, of Elohim among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our burial places. None of us will withhold his burial place from you for burying your dead. Talk about having a good testimony. Thereupon Abraham bowed low to the people of the land, the Hittites, and he said to them, if this is your wish that I remove my dead for burial, you must agree to intercede for me with Ephron, son of Zohar. Let him sell me the cave of Machpelah that he owns, which is at the edge of his land. Let him sell it to me at the full price for a burial site in your midst. Let's think about that. If you want me to do the right thing and remove the dead body, if you don't want the stench of my wife's carcass out here, if you don't want the disease that will bring on the land, I still don't want you to give me anything free. But go and intercede for me and talk to this individual that you all have a kinship with and convince him to let me pay him fair price for this land. Why didn't he just take what was offered to him? When it was his by decree from Elohim, I'll tell you why. Why I think it was. He wanted to preserve my good name. He didn't want a heathen to be able to say, you owe me. He didn't want to be in debt to the world. Shaul tells us in the Brit Hadash, we can't be indebted to the world. Mashiach says we can't have both Elohim and Mammon. Okay, and part of that mammon, yes, it has to do with money, but it has to do with the spirit of the world owning you. You can't be owned by his father and the father of lies. Ephron was present among the Hittites. So Ephron, the Hittite, answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites. So this is important. He didn't just go make the deal with the heathen. He made the deal with the heathen in front of everyone who was there, and they all just happened to be heathens. Maybe not. Maybe some of his group were there too. Maybe some of the circumcised men were there. But at the very least, the majority of the people present would have been non-believers. And so in front of these non-believers, he makes this deal with who knows how many witnesses. The equivalent of a handshake and a signing of a contract in today's culture. And he made certain that there were witnesses who by kinship would take the other side, but by morality and ethics could not say that this deal was not fair. So that if Ephron ever came back and said, you stole that from me, I said I'd only loan it to you. Now you've polluted the burial site with your wife. Now you owe me this money. That can never happen with this plethora of witnesses. By the mouth of two or three witnesses, all things will be established, correct? Yeah, that's what Scripture tells us. Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites and all who entered the gate of his town, saying, so not just the Hittites, anyone who happened to be there. No, my Lord, hear me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. This is Ephron saying, you've got all these witnesses. We're going to do this deal. I'm going to give it to you. And notice what Abraham does. Then Abraham bowed low before the people of the land. The men from whom kings were promised to issue bowed low before the people of the land. Can we see a picture there of what a Jewish king is supposed to be? And spoke to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, saying, if only you would hear me out. Let me pay the price of the land, accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there. And Ephron replied to Abraham, saying to him, my Lord, do hear me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Go and bury your dead. You know what he's saying? A piece of land that you can farm. A piece of land that you can build a house on. This was not a small piece of land. It was probably bigger than this property that we're on right now. And he had such a testimony among these people that one of their leading people apparently, who owned a huge piece of land, says, what's that between you and me? Abraham, I love you. I love what you've done for my people. I love what your Elohim has done for my people. Let me give this to you as a gift. Abraham accepted Ephron's terms. Abraham paid out to Ephron the money that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites. Catch that? He said, now you've told these people what it's worth. You can never change that. Let me give you the money. And we'll be square. 400 shekels of silver at the going merchant's rate. So Ephron's land in Machpelah near Mamre, the field with its cave and all the trees anywhere within the confines of that field, passed to Abraham as his possession in the presence of the Hittites of all who entered the gates of his camp. And then Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave of the field of Machpelah facing Mamre, now Hebron, in the land of Canaan. Thus the field with its cave passed from the Hittites to Abraham as a burial site. Why is this important to the story that is being told to Israel in the wilderness hundreds of years later? I'll tell you why. Because after this journey, the next thing that's going to happen in the chronology is Joshua is going to lead the army of Israel in a campaign to take the land of Canaan and make it Eretz Yisrael. This land by right, this piece of land that's being discussed here, already belonged to the patriarch. Why is that important? Because there's going to be places down the road where Canaanites are going to say, you have no right to any of this. And in making this deal, whether he planned it that way or not, Abraham made a foothold for the Jewish people, made a foothold for Israel. This piece of land belonged to our umpteenth grandfather 400 plus years ago. And by rights, it belongs to us today. And our umpteenth grandmother is buried in that cave, and you better believe we've come home to claim what is ours. Abraham was promised the land, and this is the first time any piece of that promise of the land came to be. And by making the deal this way, without any room for the person who had owned it before him to say, you took that from me, and it wasn't fair. Without any chance of that happening, he took the seed of the promise. Elisa and I have been listening to some sermons by another minister. Some people think that's weird, but I believe even the shepherd has need to be fed. And this gentleman, I don't believe he's alive anymore. His name is Dr. Miles Monroe. His primary ministry was to married couples and to couples considering marriage, and help them build strong families. But from time to time, he gets off onto some other things in his recordings that are connected, but he shows me some things in those messages that are still blessing people even today. And he says, he's been talking in some of them about the importance of vision. And one of the things that he teaches, and he spells it out perfectly from Scripture, is he says that Elohim does not give you a vision that he hasn't already fulfilled. He doesn't put into your heart a dream that he is not willing to give you in completion in his time, according to his plan. But you have to be willing to do certain things. You have to be willing to acknowledge it. You have to be willing to nurture it. You have to be willing to pursue it. You have to be willing to follow through on it. That's just a few of the things you have to do. Abraham had the vision, literally the vision of Yahweh Elohim telling him this land is yours. And your great-grandchildren will sojourn in a foreign land. And when they come back to this place, I'll give them every place that the sole of your foot has tread upon. And he believed him, and it was accounted to him for righteousness. And today is coming true all over again. Abraham saw the vision, and he didn't look away. And I believe that the downfall of many believing men today is that they see their vision and they get told that they can't do it, or that they shouldn't do it, or that it doesn't line up with their particular ministry that they're sitting under's idea of what they should be doing. And instead of pursuing what Elohim put in their heart, they turn away. And they do what the main lines tell us to do, which is sit down and shut up and believe whatever you're told from the pulpit, and don't go find it for yourself. My Bible tells me that it is my responsibility to work out and wrestle out my own salvation. And you know what? It doesn't just stop with the positional sanctification. It doesn't just stop with coming into covenant. It doesn't just even stop with the progressive sanctification of becoming closer and closer to Him every day. We're talking eternally about prophetic sanctification, about reigning with Him in a kingdom that is yet to come. And I'm afraid that a lot of us are going to get there. Men of the kingdom are going to get into the kingdom and not do our work. And there's something he says. Mashiach says, he says, the Son of Man will look at all the people who come before him, he'll separate them like goats and sheep. He'll put the sheep on one side and the goats on the other side. And he turns around and he says, in that day, many will come to him and say, they'll call him Master, Master. That's what the Greek actually means there. The equivalent of Rabboni, Master Teacher, Master Teacher. The English is says, Lord, Lord. It says, did we not do this in your name and that in your name? Did we not preach in your name and prophesy in your name? And did we not do this? And he'll say, depart from me, you workers of iniquity, I never knew you. And to the other side, he'll say, enter in, my good and faithful servant, because you fed me when I was starving, you clothed me when I was naked, And they'll say, when did we ever do that? And he'll say, whateversoever you did to the least of my people, this is what you did to me. You know what I've been thinking a lot the last few days? I think the men who are standing on the left, who were told, depart from me, you worker of iniquity, I never knew you, or they're going to be the men who saw their vision and thought, they say, you put this in my heart, I have to do this. I'm not saying every one of them is going to be this way, but I think there are going to be a lot of men who had it put in their heart to do something for him, and instead they went out and did what the world told them was right, and what the world's church said was right. I think a lot of the men on the right-hand side are going to be the ones who said, he gave me a vision and I'm not letting anybody stand in the way. Because if iniquity literally means willful transgression of the law, and his law says that we are to do what he has inscribed upon our hearts to glorify him. And if we're not doing that, are we not committing iniquity? Let us be like Abraham. Not the Abraham who sold out his sister. The Abraham who, even in his grief over her death, determined to be righteous, not only before his Creator, but in such a way that he would maintain a sound testimony with the people of the land, so that he could continue to be a witness to them. Let us be that Abraham. We have a midrash. Yes.
You were talking about, it says in verse 14, it says, and Ephraim replied to Abraham, saying to him, my Lord, do you hear me? A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me for a area of the dead? I don't know the size of the field. It could have been a large field. My take on that is that it was either a smaller field with a cave in it, I more like a rocky field near that has a cave in it, and or it is a large field, but these men are both so wealthy, but Abraham was very wealthy. I'm sure Ephron here was very wealthy.
But it says it's the edge of his land.
Right, and he's just saying, like, 400 shekels of silver, that's nothing for us. Just take it. But, Abraham said, no, I'm going to pay you this because he wanted to have a good testimony. He didn't, like you said, did you ever be able to say, well, you stole this land from me, or I did only leave it for you for so long, and I want it back. And get your why I just pay you.
Well, let me put it this way. I was trying to figure out exactly what 400 shekels of silver would equivalent today. 400 shekels of silver is more silver than any king, with the exception of Solomon, ever put into a temple offering. So, it was the edge of the man's land. The man had a lot of land, apparently. It was the edge of his land, but it was worth more than any king ever put into one temple offering except Solomon, who builds the temple. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay? That's a pretty good size piece of land. That's why I said maybe this property with these two buildings and the house and everything you were saying maybe could have equated to the kind of offering that would be, or well, maybe not. But I'm saying that I'm trying to just kind of put it in a little bit of perspective. This was not a small piece of land, not a small value. Yes. Anybody else?
You said that when you read it, I think you said in verse 18, you said gates. All the way through the gate, which I think is easy. But I took that. The way I think of that is that if it would have said gates, or like we said this gate, then it would be that there would be more than one gate. To me, it sounds like this is the only gate in and out of this town. Everybody is gathering there. All the Hittites, all his people. And maybe there was a few of them that were Gershon and Shaul.
Right.
It
doesn't say.
But there are all these witnesses. And all the other people probably, not Hittites maybe, that are coming and going, and they're witnessing this as well.
If
You know,
nothing else, they're saying, hey, it's a right.
yeah. And, you know, it's something, you know, because well, that's like Abraham did that with King Sodom too. So he wasn't going to take anything, but you know, the people and what the man he done with that, except for except for the Amorites, he said he didn't speak for them. You know. So.
Anybody else?